What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is because people get to know you, they get to see you.
Making those efficiencies to maximise service profits as well as just product profits.
When you lose the enthusiasm, that's the point to move on.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through Scale Up Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk.
Hello, I'm Granger Forson, your navigator through the sea of entrepreneurial tales on Scale Up Radio. You can learn more about me and my journey at www.bizsmart-gloucestershire or connect with me on LinkedIn. On today's episode, we delve into the intriguing world of digital marketing with a special focus on e-commerce. Our guest is Andy Thorne, the mind behind Factory Pattern, a successful digital experience agency that is transforming how e-commerce and lead generation clients interact in the digital world. Join us as we explore Andy's journey from print design to fascinating realm of web design and the user experience. He shares the story of his transition, his decision to start a company, and the enriching journey of ups and downs that led him to where he is today. Listen in as Andy discusses the value of creating a positive work environment, the strategies behind hiring the right talent, and the essence of fostering a company culture that promotes curiosity and a big picture thinking. Ready to dive into the world of digital marketing, the groundbreaking strategies and inspiring journeys? Then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Let's go over and hear from Andy. Hello, Andy Thorne, and welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself and your business to our audience.
Hey Granger, so I'm Andy Thorne and I co-founded Factory Pattern. We're a digital experience agency based in Cheltenham. We do everything from design, web development through to digital marketing.
And how big a company are you?
So there's 8 of us all together, plus the studio dog Baxter.
Studio dog, and
he's also my home dog, so I don't know why I call him the studio dog.
And I remember seeing the studio dog on your website in terms of your that's fabulous. So
yeah,
brilliant. So everything digital. Who are your clients? Why do they come to you? What are their needs?
So we predominantly work with e-commerce clients, although we also have a base of clients who need sort of lead generation as well. So for every one of those clients, we do a variety of services, but it's dependent on their goals. So we work with a lot of clients that are already established on digital. So they may have had a website for some years, or they may have been running marketing, or whatever the kind of need is. They're usually established. And the reason for that, and the reason why it's important to us, is because the majority of the decisions and recommendations we make are all based on data. So when we've got existing data, we work with clients to try and unpick what the data they've got and help them with the challenge they've got. So a lot of the time, clients will come to us and say they might want to increase traffic to their website, or they may want a new website. And we dig into the data just to make sure that they're actually asking the right question. So one of the sort of values we've got at Factory Pattern is to ask questions you might not have thought you'd had. And so it might be that someone might ask to increase their organic traffic to their website, but we may take a look at their website and say, that's fine, we can increase traffic to it, but you've got these user experience issues with your site that might be preventing people from actually buying something on your site or making contact with you, so filling the contact form or things like that. And so in identifying those things, we can make sure that we recommend the right thing first, and also the follow-up. So it might be, actually, yes, we do need to increase traffic to your site because it's going to bring you more sales. But first, let's make sure that when someone gets on your website, they're going to have the best user experience possible. And therefore, you're more likely to convert that person into a customer or potential customer, and you're going to get the most return out of whatever digital activity you're doing.
So you're fixing some of their sort of problems in the digital world, website, data traffic, etc. But you're using current data sets that they have to help them unpick what their problems potentially are, maybe that they don't know. Okay, so why would a client come knocking on your door? You know, do they know they've got something wrong, or do you go advertising in terms of how you can fix problems? You know, how do they turn up?
Yeah, usually it starts with, I guess, there's one of two things. One thing could be we want to improve something. So we want to improve sales, want to increase sales, and therefore they might know that they need more traffic to be able to do that, more website visitors. Or they may know that in using their own website, they've maybe experienced some issue with the back end problem. Like they may go into their kind of WordPress site or their Shopify site, and they may find out that they actually can't do something that they want to do, but it sounds like it should be quite straightforward to do. And so sometimes it can start with that, or they've got a new feature that they want to add to their existing. So we do a lot of work with existing sites, but we can also build new sites too. But the work we do is existing. We might improve some piece of functionality, or might add some functionality. So there's kind of multiple reasons. It could be something completely new, so start from scratch, or rebuild their site, because sometimes people have had a website for a number of years and they just grow organically. So they kind of bolt bits on here and there, and then they've got a feeling that it's happening, but they can't quite pinpoint what's happened, and they kind of feel that it may be easier if we kind of rebuilt it, and with the same sort of aims, but just to streamline some of their operations. Or a lot of people want to automate things as much as possible. So, for example, when you look at e-commerce, when an order comes in, they may have, an account system like Xero or Sage, and they may want to integrate those things automatically within their site. And then what can happen is that they may have looked at that integration, and someone from their accounts, or from the accounts department, or from the software that they're using may say, actually, you can do it, but you need to update your website. So it can be kind of to do with the software that they've got. Sometimes they may want to integrate it. So there's various ways that they kind of sort of come to us. We do a lot of our own search engine optimization. So we get a lot of traffic through, or sales leads for us through organic. And that really works for us, because usually people have got a question, so they may want more traffic to their websites. They may be looking for search engine optimization, or they may need some work to their existing website, or may need a new website altogether. And so the terms they're using, we get found for, and we work hard to get found for them.
So clients coming to you for updates and changes in terms of the development of their websites. Do you do other forms of digital activity as well? Social media or anything like that?
So I guess the sort of digital marketing services we do search engine optimization to improve organic traffic, so traffic from Google. We also do pay-per-click advertising, so that could be Facebook and Instagram through to Google Ads, so that those can work really well in terms of boosting traffic, especially if you've got a new site or you've got a new thing that you want to promote and push it, because sometimes search engine optimization can be a slow kind of build to picking something up, and you may want to kind of promote something quite heavily. So pay-per-click is really good for that. In terms of social media, yes, we work a lot more on not just kind of posting on behalf of our clients, posting social media updates, but we work a lot on engagement and building communities, because if you invest in a community, like it really, really helps to build trust over time, so that when that potential customer, even if they're not a customer yet, if you build a community of potential customers and they want a thing from you, they're more likely to think of you first because you'll come top of mind. And so I'd say social media is more important to focus on building on a community as opposed to kind of getting as many posts out as possible, because that's what a lot of people kind of focus on. So that's the side of social media that we focus on. And then the other, I guess, side of it, there's obviously the web development side of things and the technical thing. And then you've got the design element. So we've got two designers, Sam and Olivia, and they work on anything from kind of prototypes to design systems, which is basically like a digital brand guideline, but on steroids for your website. And then other things like assets for kind of blog posts and the kind of smaller things, but the things that companies can't always get around to doing. So we can kind of do sort of the large jobs, but also the smaller day-to-day things too.
So there are a lot of web design companies. There's lots of social media companies out there. There's pay-to-click companies out there. You've got quite a few different elements all running together. So what makes you different? What makes you think stand out and strive to be the best at?
I think what makes us different is that the core of our services is user experience. So user experience being the experience that a customer or a potential customer has with your business. So when we look at user experience first, we've got to understand what our customer wants. So when for example, if we meet a customer's needs, so if we build a website and we make it really easy for them to place an order or to get in touch, and design for what they want to make it really quick and really simple, then our customer is more likely to make more money from it as a result. So user experience kind of starts from there. It makes it more kind of, we look at it with UX as the core, and then everything we do ties into that. So I guess if we look at kind of digital marketing as one thing, when we bring digital marketing into it, if we understand what people want from, if we look at SEO, what they're searching for and what their intent is when they're searching for something, then we make sure that we not only bring that traffic in, but when they're searching for that thing and they come to your site, can they get the answer they want? And if they can, then they're more likely to make an inquiry. So this is why we do have a number of services, but they're all focused around that core element of user experience, because it's that thing we've got to start from. Because if we don't understand what people want, then if we drive them to your website to do a thing, then you've lost already. So in understanding what the customer wants, and you start from that place, then you're going to design something useful, and we'll get our clients more sales as a result.
So who typically are your type of customers? Do you have any niches? Who comes knocking on the door normally?
Yeah, so I guess we look at, so we've got quite a range, but we've got a specialism in e-commerce. So we've got probably 80%, maybe 70%, 70 to 80% of our client base are e-commerce. And when we look at e-commerce within that segment, we specialize in lifestyle and fashion, and then food and beverage, and then there's a mix of other clients within that, but the majority are those two, because Food and beverage is probably our favorite because everybody understands food and beverage and we all enjoy it. And it's something that, like, in the studio on like Wednesdays, we all have like 11s together, which means that someone's got to either bake something and bring something in, or they haven't got to bake, but they can go to Waitrose if they want, or wherever they go to, and bring something in and enjoy it together. And that's a really important part of team building. And so actually what we found is we've got a few clients in the food and beverage category, and we actually all really enjoy kind of working on that because it's something that we all kind of understand. And then in terms of lifestyle stuff, so we've got a couple of clients that sell watches, sunglasses, things like that. And again, it's kind of something we find that if there's something that we're interested in as a team, or a few people are, then we get really into it. So it works really well for us if we can find clients with shared interests. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, from the e-commerce perspective, that's they're the sort of types of clients that we work with. And then in terms of clients that we drive leads for, it's quite a mixed bag. So we've got clients that do kind of interiors and exterior products like blinds and windows and all sorts of amazing solar powered things, I'm trying to think of the other clients we've got now that we generate leads for, but it's quite a mixed bag. But I'd say because our focus is more on e-commerce, we're quite specific about the clients that we go after there.
And in terms of then the marketplace for your types of services, what's the marketplace like? Is it cutthroat? Is it constantly changing? What some of the key trends are?
Yeah, I think it can be quite cutthroat, but it's more, I think, when it comes to e-commerce, because everything you do can have a really quick impact or a direct impact on their online sales. So e-commerce clients aren't so much cutthroat. They know what they need, and they want to know that they're going to get a return on investment, or they want to know the work you're going to do is actually driven towards that. So they need you to understand them. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of where our e-commerce clients are. And we really like that because we're really transparent with our clients in what we expect. We always set kind of KPIs, and we always set targets, and we have constant kind of weekly updates and conversations with them and how we're going to reach them. And sometimes we don't, and they know that, but we tell them to expect that, because you can predict as much as you want, but sometimes for whatever reason, something doesn't happen. But I think the important bit is we've got the flexibility in the team and our approach to be able to jump on that and change it. So yeah, I guess that's what our clients look like. But I guess, do you mean in terms of our marketplace, like who we're kind of the clients we're going after and how difficult that is to get the work?
Yes. Right.
Okay. So in that case, I'd say, so we will always be most of the time we'll always be against other agencies. So we accept that as a given, and actually clients have approached us before, and if they don't have like proposals or quotes from other agencies, we actually go and tell them to get them, because we want them to be able to, one, understand the kind of pricing structure, and also the price they're ultimately going to pay, and also the return they're going to get. But the tricky thing with our industry is that it's really difficult, and I always feel sorry for clients going to get a digital marketing or a website design and development proposal, because they'll all come back completely different, and everybody's got a preferred platform or a preferred way of doing things, and there's no kind of standards, nor there's not many standards within our industry, because I think digital is still fairly young. Even though it moves at a rate of knots, it's very young still. And so I think the standards are starting to form, and people are starting to gain a level of understanding, but a lot of clients have got different levels of what to expect.
Right.
And so when it comes to our proposals, one, we accept that we're going to be against other people. So that means that we've got to make sure that we work really hard to win that client. And the kind of reasons that we win work is, one, we put in a lot of pre-work before that proposal. So something that I always do before we meet someone new or before we're going to go into a proposal pitch is I practice the meeting. So I do the meeting before the meeting and try and understand, and this is actually where it comes back to user experience. So we try and understand that client, what they've asked for, and all of the questions that they need answering. And in understand, if you can just pull those out, you'll never know everything, but if you kind of start off from that basis and look at your potential client as like a user of factory patterns and what's their experience, if we can answer the questions they want, from the basic ones to the unexpected sort of questions, then we're more likely to win that pitch or proposal, because we kind of thought about that first. And so we put a lot of work in, and we make sure that we try and get as much data as possible. So if they say, some people have got really specific goals, they go, right, we want to double our traffic in a year and triple our sales. And so if they can give us some data, some pre-existing data, we can work on predictions and say, right, we think you're going to need to do X, Y, and Z to be able to get to that. And here's the services and the solution that we recommend. What we don't do is take a cookie cutter approach to, there's our services, that's how much they cost, and there you go, do you want to work with us? Because it's never enough. And the other thing we also do is we, giving all my secrets away now, but that's a good thing, everybody should do this. So we put client stuff first, and then the about factory pattern bit comes right at the end. So, and we've got a lot of really good feedback about that, because there's a lot of companies out there and a lot of agencies who are super proud of what they've done, and they're really clever, but they get tangled up in thinking about, we need to show them how clever we are, rather than going, actually, no, we need to show them what they're going to get. Like, why are we doing this thing? They've asked for this, what they're going to get from it. And then we'll go, oh, by the way, we're Factory Pattern. We've won awards. We've been established since 2008. All of those trust markers. And they really like that bit, because we get to also show off a little bit as well. So we can, but more importantly, the showing off is proving ourselves. So we can say, right, you've got this, and we've seen this, and this is maybe what you could improve, and you could tweak this. So we're actually giving them advice for free. But one piece of sales advice I was given right from the off was, you need to give more than you ask. So if you, and that's one of the reasons why we do content marketing on our own site, because we're essentially telling people how to do digital marketing or website audits or whatever. But if we give that information away, we're being useful, but we're also showing how useful we can be. And the result of that might be, actually, you guys are really good at this, you'll do a better job than me, so I give the work to you. And that's kind of, so giving more than you ask, I think, has been a secret to our success.
Giving more than you ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like that phrase. Really good.
Yeah.
So 2008 started. So
yep.
Factory Pattern. Take us back. Why did you start? What was going on?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to take you back further than that, actually. So the way I got into, so my background is design. And when I was at college, which was a long time ago now. So when I was 16, I started college in Gloucester, and I did an art and design, I think it was a GMBQ. And just before I was starting, I got all excited about doing art and design and all sorts of things. And we went into this little office with, I think it was Louise, who was going to be my lecturer, and my dad come in with me, because my dad was he wanted to make sure that I was kind of making an informed decision. And he wasn't coming in to kind of just, just get me out of there. He wanted to understand it, because he's curious. So he said got to the interview at college, Louise, and my dad said to Louise, this sounds all great and brilliant that they're going to do, painting and design and all sorts of things. But what career can Andy expect from him? What money can he expect? So he's being logical, which is good. He's making sure I'm protected in future. I didn't care about that at this point, because my parents had paid for things, and I got part-time jobs and all that. I just wanted to do all this fantastic design, pretty stuff. And so Louise paused, and she said, look at everything in this office. And it's a tiny office, but she managed to looked at everything in there, from chairs to desks to computers to whatever. And she said, everything in this office has been designed. And my dad just went, oh yeah, actually that's quite a big future, isn't it? And it was at that point I went, oh yeah, I never really considered that. Like, there's literally jobs in every aspect of this. And so then fast forward, so 2008, I worked at a few agencies. I started off in print design. Then I started off working on 2 national magazines. So one of them was Canoe and Kayak. I knew nothing about canoes or kayaks. And then the other was about play boating. So it's like the kind of extreme sports version of canoeing, and I've always been into sort of extreme sports, the skateboarding and mountain bike, and so that worked on those 2 publications, and it was working on print design first of all, and then I slowly but surely noticed that the previous designer there had made a website for them. Now this was 2002, not 22, that was last year, 2002, 2001, something like that. So websites were like, they were the wild, wild west. Like, no one really knew what they needed to be. And they let me I started to code and started to write these websites, but I was designing them as well. And so I got into that and I took that website down so many times and broke it, but there wasn't enough people on the internet. It didn't really matter that if you, no one took it seriously. It was just this kind of nice thing on the site. So the traffic started to pick up and we started to get an idea of that. So and that was me as a junior designer. So straight from the off, I was always I loved design, but then what I was really passionate about was, well, if I design something, someone's going to interact with it and do something. And I always had an awareness of that. And so fast forward a few years later, and I'd worked at a few agencies, and what I could see in these agencies is no one was really picking up on digital, and they might do a little bit of digital, or they've got a development team, and it was all the web development team that would put a website together, but there's no designer involved, or there might have been a designer involved at the beginning and then it's kind of handed over, and it just wasn't holistic. And so I started to get a really good understanding of user experience quite early. That was a really new thing, and actually it's still a reasonably new term. Is still taking quite a lot of education and educating people what user experience is. And so I started getting all this knowledge and get frustrated with the agencies that I worked at because they didn't bring all these things together. It was very compartmentalized. So because of the frustration, I kind of went, right, I just need to start on my own. So I think it was 2008, I started to have the idea and kind of form the company, and then really started to pick up within that year, and we really kicked off. And I started in my flat in Cheltenham, just at my desk, and then I think six to 12 months into it. So my first son was being born, Elijah. And I knew that I couldn't be at home when a baby was around, because that would just that sounds horrible, but it would be quite tricky to kind of just concentrate on things like that. And so I quickly found an office in Cheltenham, started at Royal Mews and kind of rented some space there. And then, and my wife, Georgina, then she come on board as well. So I think a year after our first son was born, George come on board, and she started getting on board with, trying to remember what she did in the really early days now, we just did everything because it was just us two. So we'd be like from chasing invoices to project management to design and development and just everything, because you just do. But the good thing about learning all of that is this, I think when you start your own business, you've got to, whether you like it or not, deep dive into everything you don't know about. And it's the best way to educate yourself really, really quickly. I think there's a lot of people who think about it for too long and go, oh, no, I've got to learn accounts, or I've got to learn, business strategy. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that, I needed to kind of do more digital work, and I knew what I was doing was interesting and that it could help a lot of people. And so we just went with that and took the leap. And then here we are kind of 15 years later. And so there's 8 of us now. So yeah, we've grown slowly, but slow but strong. So like an oak tree rather than kind of rapid and not really knowing how we got there. And we've had ups and downs. But yeah, that's kind of where we started and where we are now.
Awesome. So you talked about the slow growth. You've got 8 people. So how do you go about finding the right people for you? Because I mean, there's a huge amount of energy in you, Andy. I can see that, and but attention to detail also comes out all the time in terms of your thinking. That's from your design background. I can see that. So how do you go about finding the right people to fit?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So I say, first of all, strategy, like making sure that we know where we want to be and who we need to be able to get us there. Because me and George like found out pretty quickly we couldn't just do this on our own if we wanted to grow. We never just wanted to be a kind of two-person show. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we just always wanted to run an agency that we wanted to work at. And I think that was the second key. So what were we frustrated with at the places that we'd worked at? So George's background was interior design and project management. And so we shared a few frustrations. And so things like all sorts of things from kind of, what was our frustrations, like the whole digital side of things and design, and maybe not getting access to kind of clients, not really understanding what deadlines were and what projects meant, all of that stuff, all of the kind of usual frustrations, and we wanted to be able to solve that. So I think that was really important. And ultimately, we wanted to work at a place where we enjoyed doing what we were doing, because if you enjoy doing what you're doing and you can have fun, then people are more likely to stick around. And so we started with that. So there was the strategy side of things, the company born of frustration with what we were frustrated with and what we wanted. And then I guess the third thing is we set values. So 2 values that we hold dear to us are big picture thinking and curiosity, because things that kicked us off. And actually, I think it's only those 2 things that you really need. And everybody's creative. So whether you're a designer or a project manager or a client account manager or a developer. And so we knew that creativity is not just for designers. Everybody's a creative thinker. So we knew that that's just embedded in our culture, but the big picture thinking, the curiosity is the thing. And so I guess we kind of started from those 3 things, and then sort of the mechanics of getting someone. When we got our first 2 employee, like we've had a few people that have worked for us. So the first few years, we kind of had a few freelancers and they'd join us, and then we'd kind of work with them and they do stuff. But we always knew that we wanted people internally. And so Olivia and Becca come on board, and they come straight from Gloucestershire University. And that was a really good move, because we work with Gloucestershire University a lot, and we take part in their speed meets every year. So their speed meets are, they run it for the design course, and the degree design course, and it's brilliant. So what you do is a few agencies go into the speed meets. It's all prearranged, and then you get about 5 to 6 meetings with designers within about an hour and a half. And they're really, really quick fire meetings. So it's like speed dating, but interviews. So they get to practice, showing their portfolio, talking through it all and stuff like that. And we got to meet people in quite a relaxed environment. And so we met Olivia there. And then, so George met Olivia. I met her quickly. And I knew Olivia also, from the design academy that I run as well. And so I'd worked with Olivia before, which is great. So we got to know Olivia, which was lovely. And she became one of our designers. And then Becca, we met briefly. And then because we had a really good relationship with the university, we actually said to one of the course leaders at the time, we said, look, who would you recommend as an account manager? Is there anyone on the design course? And she said, yeah, I can recommend Becca. She's really good at design, but actually she wants to go into account management. So we got those two at the same time, which was a real kind of drop in the deep end, because you're like hiring two people at once. And that was great. And that allowed us to go, right, you can do that, you can do that. And now we free ourselves up to do something else. And then we said, right, we need a developer now. And so I think I asked for a recommendation from a friend of mine who knew a few developers, and then we got a developer on board. And then, so that was the first bit, and that got us used to having employees and building a team. And so then as we progress, what we tend to do is kind of build processes around things. So like, how did we do that? Break that down, right? There's the process for doing that. And then we kind of went, how do we hire people? We got to know them, and then we asked for a referral from them. So we said, let's try it in the more formal approach. So we used Indeed, the online recruitment platform, and we put the application out that way. So that was great in going through that process, because we had to put things together like job ads and job specs, whereas previously we kind of cobbled that together and went, there it is, and there's a salary. But when you've got to do that pre-work, it helps to build the process and make that stronger. So we used Indeed, and that worked really well. And we've hired, I think, everybody using Indeed ever since. We always take recommendations from people, so I'll always ask around, because I think recommendations are really strong. But Indeed's definitely helped us to kind of find people and get them that way. That's really helped. So I think it's always important to have that when we need to turn things on or we need to do something. We've got to have that solid process in place so we can do it, not just wait for something to come along, because it's quite difficult to grow.
And you've talked about the values. I thought that's great. The two values of big picture thinking and curiosity. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, really good. So how have you kept the culture within the team as you have grown?
So big picture thinking. So when we put together our strategy, I used to go and sit in my office, go and put the strategy together and not tell anybody, and just do the strategy. And we'd hit our targets, and that was fine. But there was a year, I think I'd done it for a couple of years when I started to get on board with strategy, and I was like, right, this actually really helps me to break things down and figure stuff out. And then there was I think it was the third year in, I went, actually, I need to get the team involved with this, because it's not enough for me to just go, I think we need to be here. I think that sharing the strategy is one thing, but actually building it together and having shared goals, I think, or a shared awareness of the goals, I think is important, because then you can get everybody thinking about it and pushing towards it. And then that helped with the big picture thinking, because I said, right, we're going to be here in a year and we want to be here in 3 years. And then there's the kind of blue sky kind of big picture thinking, it's 10 years in the future and that's huge and whatever. And introducing them to that showed them like where they could be. And I'm not perfect at it. I've still got to work hard on it. And yeah, we do kind of, that's used. And then I guess we also make sure that when anyone's, and that the big picture thinking come in when I started to tell them stories about, when we think about doing X, have you thought about the goal of it, the kind of immediate goal, but have you thought about what that could mean in the future? And so whenever we're doing work on our own stuff or for clients, it's right, hang on a minute, they've asked for this, but that might get them that short-term thing, but what does that mean over there? What are the implications from a design, from a client point of view, from a strategy point of view? Does it tie into their bigger goals? And so in getting everybody to think about that, everybody can kind of question stuff. And that's where the curiosity thing feeds in. So there's a poster on our wall in the studio that says question everything. And so one of the things that me and George push quite a lot is we say to the team that even if we say do something, you've got to question it. Like, we remove ego from everything, because ego is a dangerous, dangerous thing. And if we're egotistical and we just say, do this, do that, do the other, we're not going to get the best from people. And so that's the other reason why curiosity is really important, because they should be able to question us, but they should also question each other, question the clients, question tasks they've got, not in an annoying way, but in a way that kind of helps everybody. And so that those two things work together. And the way we kind of help with that, feed that into our culture, is so we do several things. So on Fridays, actually, I'll start from Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we have TED Talk Tuesdays. So about, I think, 10:30, we choose a TED Talk. Actually, it might not be a TED Talk. It might be any sort of talk, but it's usually a short form talk, usually about 10, 20 minutes. And we all sit down and watch it, have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and then we go off. And that allows us to come together without phones, like no phones allowed. We've all got to actually talk to each other. But the talks actually make us talk about things that it might not even be about factory pattern. It might not be about digital. It could be about all sorts of things. But that helps the curiosity and the big picture thinking. And then on Wednesdays, we do 11s. So 11s is, like I explained earlier, someone brings some food in. We take it in turns every week. Someone's picked from a cup, and their name's picked out, and they've got to bring something in. And then Olivia usually is the one to bake something, and she bakes amazing cakes and brilliant stuff. And then we all kind of bake stuff now and again, but if not, we just bring something in or buy something. But the point of that is that we've got dedicated time just to sit down and chat, and that's really important. And then the way we've designed our studio, sort of the curiosity side of things and kind of big picture thinking, I guess, again, is we've got a canteen room that we purposely made. We could have just turned it into a meeting room or office, but we've got a dedicated canteen, and all of the team sit together at lunchtime. We haven't forced them. They've done it off their own backs. And they sit together at lunchtime, and they all get on, and they all socialize, and they all have really good fun together. And they have lunch together, and which is lovely to see, because they're building friendships, and that builds a better team. And then on Fridays, we have Inspiration Fridays. This was stolen from the guys at Hyatt Denham and the Do Lectures. So David Hyatt, who runs that, they get together on a Friday, and everybody takes it in turns to share what's inspired them that week. And it takes about 20 minutes. But the great thing about that is we've all got different experiences, and we all see different things, and we can bring all of that together, and it exposes us to things that we might not have seen. I think especially with social media algorithms, they push stuff in your face that they know that channel knows that you're going to like. And actually, if I see something from like Becca's Instagram or LinkedIn or email that's gone into her inbox from something she subscribed to, or Sam's, or anyone's, and developers, designers, account managers, then it'll be something that I've not been exposed to. And so that's really important as well, because we can have quite a tunneled perspective of the world, and that really helps us.
Wow. That's just simply stunning. Yeah, you've given such an amazing overview of how you build your culture, because actually culture building is an important tool of every leader. And if leaders understood half of what you've just talked through, then businesses would be in such awesome places. So
good, thank you.
So where do you want to be in 5 years' time? What's Factory Pattern going to be in terms of a business?
So in 5 years, we'll probably be at about 20 people, I think. So yeah, we'll be about 20 people strong. We might need a slightly bigger studio then, or move a few things around. And we really want to be able to not only so at the moment, I think we're in a really good place of doing really good client work, producing really good results, but we've all got sort of digital or creative projects that we want to do and work on. And we want to be able to work on those and kind of embrace that. One of the things that we kind of struggle to fit in sometimes, or a lot of the time, is actually personal development. And if we can get a bigger team with more people to kind of share that workload, then we've got more time for personal projects, and the personal projects then become interesting things to talk about and do. So because we're a digital agency and there's so many things we're exposed to, and we come up with so many ideas, and we go, oh, we could do that, and we could do that. And actually, so the next part of our growth is to build the team in such a way that we can actually work on those projects and have, the client works great and it's really interesting and challenges us, but we also want different things to look at. And I think it's also important for the team, because whatever work, because one of my primary jobs is sales, and whatever sales I bring in, whatever clients I bring in, the team have got to work on them, which is great. But there may be stuff they want to do that they haven't had a chance to try because they haven't got that client. And so by doing the sort of personal projects, we can do that work.
Awesome. Andy, what a fantastic conversation that we've had.
Thank you.
In terms of the whole thing around, the service that you do. I love this, asking the questions of your clients that they may not have already thought about or even thought through. Really focusing on user experience is the key differentiator, your key focus. You've niched down into lifestyle and fashion and food and beverage. I wonder, partly maybe that's because actually those are companies that wish to sell online, and you talked a lot about e-commerce being your focus. So actually they are wanting to sell online and need that ability to connect front end to back end systems, etc., in terms of doing that. But growing from 2008, from that amazing start in terms of your thoughts, bring wife coming on board and growing, realizing that actually you've got to build that big picture, that strategy, and that's what we talk to our clients about. That's really brilliant, and the values that you bring and the way that you've tried to build an entire culture around those values with the different things that you do. The TED Talk Tuesday, the 11s is Wednesday, fabulous. I'll be there. I love it. Made cake.
More than welcome.
Inspirational Friday, fantastic. I love all of that in terms of doing it, and your passion to grow the business, not because you want to get a bigger business, but you want to find that more time for each of your people to have that personal development time while at work. I mean, that's inspiring. That's been fantastic points and conversations within this time. So we always finish with a quick fire round. So if I may, I'll throw these at you. So if you could go back to younger you, what advice would you give yourself?
Whatever dream you've got, triple it. So like come up with some target and triple whatever that target is. And it might not be a monetary thing, but I think we're always quite limited in the way we think. And so we limit our own brains as just a natural thing that we do to all our experiences and growing up. And if I could go back to younger me, I'd say, right, just what's your dream right now? Now push that as far as you can, because I think if you can achieve, you'll be surprised at what you can achieve.
Brilliant. Awesome. I love that answer. Which books would you recommend to our listeners?
Right. So Traction. So there's actually two books. So I think Traction, I can't remember which one's which. I think Traction's the story version. And then there's another version. I'll have to, but it's a really good book. It helped me with strategies. It was the first time I was able to get a good grasp of that. Yeah. And then more recently, Ryan Holiday and I'm trying to think of so Ego is the Enemy is a really good, actually any Ryan Holiday book is amazing. And more recent, because he's been doing loads of stuff on Stoicism. And I'm trying to remember now. I'm just going to quickly Google it because I've got to get it right, because otherwise it's not going to be the right recommendation. The Obstacle is the Way. So I think that's one of the best books I've written. I haven't written it. I've read because it basically looks at what you think are obstacles are actually opportunities. And I'll say no more because I'll ruin it. And then also, I guess another one would be so David Hyatt, who I mentioned, who I've looked up to for years. He's written several books, and there's loads of Do books. And so there's a really good one by Gavin Strange called Do Fly. And then there's a really good one by David Hyatt himself. And I'm just going to Google this because I cannot remember what the title is. 2 seconds, Do Lectures Books. It's basically the one that David Hyatt, oh, there we go. So Why Brands with a Purpose Do Better and Matter More. So, but like any of the Do books are just brilliant. They're really quick reads. And then one final one, Peaks and Valleys by Spencer Johnson. Peaks and Valleys is just a great book, not just for business but for life. That's one I've read more recently. It's quite an old book. He's the author of Who Moved My Cheese, which is another good one.
Brilliant book.
And just amazing. But yeah, Peaks and Valleys, I think Who Moved My Cheese is great. I love it, but Peaks and Valleys is my favorite because it tells you how to make the most of really good times, but when you're down in the bad times and that happen, it tells you how you can learn from them and get out of that. So yeah.
Brilliant. Podcasts, amongst all that reading, do you have a chance to listen to podcasts? Any you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. The main one that I listen to is 99% Invisible with Roman Mars. It's the best podcast I've ever listened to, and what's clever about it is it's about design, but it's kind of secretly about design. So they managed to pull out stories of how designers and the built world is there, and all the kind of things that we don't see. So 99% invisible. So all the things that are there, like chairs are at the right height, that didn't happen by accident. And also things like curb cuts. So you know the kind of in curbs, you see the bit that's dipped. Like initially that was for disabled people so they could get their wheelchairs up on it, but also now curb cuts has become this kind of phenomenon or term that's used when we see not things that have helped us, but the intention of it was to help someone else, but it's now helped everybody. So subtitles and captions on things. So they were around for deaf people who couldn't they needed the subtitles so they can enjoy films or actually, or programs or anything like that. But now they actually help us. So if you look on any social media ad, because people don't want the sound firing up of their phone while they're at the office or out and about, they've got captions that can help them. Yeah. Or when you're in a bar and you're watching sport and you need the captions on to hear that. So they're curb cuts, but 99% Invisible just show you all those fantastic things, and it's just excellent.
Brilliant. Onto your mobile phone, any apps that make a difference for you?
Yeah, so Notion. So I use Notion, which is, for me, it's a note-taking tool. You can turn it into quite a lot of things, project management, etc. But observation is really, really, really important. But what's more important is not just observing things, but capturing things as they happen. So Notion allows me to do that really, really quickly. And then also ClickUp. So we use ClickUp for project management, so to manage all of our tasks, etc. But whenever I need to kind of get something out of my brains and make sure that I capture it, I've got ClickUp on my phone, because there's no chance of me catching everything, and you need those tools there to offload so you can get on with doing your best work.
Brilliant. My favorite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
That's an easy one. That's my wife, Georgina. So co-founder of the business, and also just a constant source of curiosity and why didn't I think of that? So she's got I'm just the face. She's the real magic. So when I kind of say, we're talking about business all the time, we enjoy it, and it's we also enjoy time with our two sons, Felix and Elijah, but we're constantly kind of developing the business. And if I'm kind of stuck on something, or I need a different perspective, or if I don't even think I need a different perspective, then George will give that in just a way that I couldn't, and she kind of sees these things, and it's just brilliant. So yeah, that's the secret weapon.
Awesome. And finally, how can people get hold of you, Andy?
So they can go onto our website at factorypattern.co.uk, or they can email me directly, andy@factorypattern.co.uk, or give us a call, and the numbers on the website.
Awesome. And one little final question. The name Factory Pattern, where does that come from?
Yeah. So interesting one. So it actually comes from I didn't know this. I had to ask a developer this. So there's ways of developing software. I don't develop software. I don't really understand how to, but there's kind of different methods that you can pick. And it also applies to building websites. And there's certain methods, but there's a certain one called Factory Pattern method. And Factory Pattern brings together lots of different methods that run along the same theme. And so when we built Factory Pattern, we said, right, it's not enough to just offer design. It goes back to that frustration of not like bringing digital together. We need to focus it on one area, but we need developers, digital marketers, designers, content writers, project managers to all be running on the same theme and running on the same sort of pattern so that we all work well together. So the name kind of encompasses all of that, and it comes from a software pattern of development.
Brilliant. Andy, thank you so much for this amazing conversation today.
No, you're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.